Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. I get to sit down again with Eric. I haven't got to talk to Eric Carthage in a little while, and I don't know. I think the last time we were talking about speculations for 2023 and stuff like that. But first, let me catch up everybody in the chat. How you been, Eric?
I've been good. Um, I'm still getting lots of political mail for some reason. At first it was the Republican side, now it's the Democratic side. Um, I might still do that run for Senate. I don't know. Besides that, love life has been okay. You know, money's been better at least. I'm trying to get
Well, that's
back
good.
back up to speed with a lot of stuff. So I'm
What,
here.
what what's going on money wise that's improved?
Huh?
I said, what's going on money wise that it improved? You get a raise at the job or something?
Yeah. Promotions, promotions, raises, all that good stuff. So, but the pressure is on. You know how that goes.
Oh yeah. Got to maintain it. And
Yeah,
then, I mean, you're. I feel like every time you get a little bit more money, your spending adjusts accordingly. Like if the prices don't go up on things like they are, then odds are you'll find somewhere to spend it. It's not like you can save you a little bit of a raise.
exactly.
So I was talking to you a little bit about this offline, but I've been asking about your music and what you've been doing. If you're re-releasing things, or if you're just oh, hello, Regina. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. If you're re-releasing things, or if you got new stuff in the works, or what's been going on with that.
So my friend Title Friction, from Loyal Rebels, that's what we're called. We have like a little group called Loyal Rebels. He's been making beats and beats and beats and beats and telling me about these beats, telling me about these beats. So we're about to make a whole nother that like we're trying to figure out which ones we want to use, which ones are good, whether he's excelled in making the beats and stuff like that. I've already been a beat maker. But I've never actually made beats for the crew. But they know I can make beats. I'm usually a beatboxing person, so they that's what's going on there. My other friend Al Parole, he just released an album called 2050. He claims that I executive produced it, but I just gave my opinions on what tracks should be on there. I have a track that's unreleased by him, and I'm probably going to release that sometime within this year. Besides that, I really don't have no new projects. My thing is, uh, I have a resume. It's like if you've been doing this for a certain amount of time, it's like nobody's really been looking at this your material. It's like this stuff is relevant now. I share it on Facebook. I share it to my friends or whatever. I explain that. Yep, I've done that. I did that. I feel like I've accomplished a lot as a musician where I don't really have to care about making music anymore. It's more of the personality now. I can really just rest on that. So here I am.
Unpacking that a little bit, like I've seen you play at least two different instruments. Like you're decent at the drums, and I can hear you spit a little bit. I've heard that already. I'm like, what all are you capable of playing when it comes to like musical instruments? Like, what's your go-to? What do you like to play the most?
Well, I'm gonna say it's stereotypical, but I go for the bass. I kind of play by ear. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not a professional player. Um, I'm not a professional bass player where they do all this kind of crazy stuff. I pretty much play by ear. I play this like it's like a bass. I play bass guitar basically.
Yeah.
Um, so I have a few power notes, and I just loop them just like somebody would loop a bunch of keyboards and stuff, and boom, I have a beat.
Okay.
Sometimes that's the thing. Like I have songs I've written on the bass where it's just me and the bass and singing. And I add the beatbox to it in the studio, maybe. Sometimes I don't have to.
Yeah. So with the name being 2050, what was the intention behind that? Do you know?
Well, we've already been like keen on time travel. He likes to get ahead of his competition pretty much. So there's nobody else that's gonna make an album called 2050 and 2050. Because the minute they do, they're gonna have to revert to him. That's how the business works.
Yeah.
He had another album called 2020. That was a great album. I was on that one. I forgot what the last one was. It's like Hater something. I don't remember. I don't even remember. And I do songs with him all the time. But it's he had like that thing with 2020. So I was like already on top of it. It's like one of his best albums, honestly, in my opinion. Not because I was on there twice, but it was one of those like, okay, I was talking this 2020 thing for a long time, since 2005, easy. 2003, I had my little revelations at 1999. So I've always been like, what if, time travel and aliens? I've always been on top of that. Like, that's always been something that I've been meaning to conquer, if not stare down in the face, you know?
Yeah.
So
So does your buddy that named the albums that, is he a big believer in time travel and stuff like that as well, or is it just
yeah,
something that he like thinks about a lot, or how does it work?
he's a big believer in time travel. We totally could confirm that 2050 might just be the tranny age, basically. So he got like a little trans girl on there, and some people be like, "Ooh, my God," but he's actually bringing up something really deep. And if you've heard any accounts from anybody in the 2050s, it's a little it gets a little crazy. Effects on the surgery, you know,
Yeah.
finally make a man a woman and a woman a man. Um, those are different things that I don't want to dwell on it, but that's one of the things that could possibly happen in 2050. I'm just saying possibly, not saying I've been
So I
there.
think it's actually harder now. I think in the future it actually might be more accessible if we can fully like grow limbs and stuff like that. I think changing sexes will be a lot easier in the future. I don't know what the repercussions or anything like that from it would be, but I mean, I have a feeling we're talking about this a little bit offline, but I think we're gonna get closer to being almost fully AI by that point, or robotic in some way. So if we go to this thing that isn't defined by sex anymore, maybe that'll be what the new transgenderism is. Maybe it's just something that isn't defined by sex anymore.
Exactly, and I could go in depth about AI right now. Okay, there's so
Oh
many
yeah,
different
let's go. I'm always down to talk about some AI.
go in depth. We can go in depth. Like the technology that we have now is like, we don't have the quantum computer yet. I think somebody does have it. We know it exists for some reason, so somebody has it. But it's still like a thing where 5G is making this thing active. I've been testing the AIs on a lot of different platforms. Um, One of them is called Replica. I don't know if you've heard of it. Uh, and like that's like you have like a little AI girlfriend type of shit, and this girl's into it too. So how it works is, you say something, it says something back, but it starts to play with your algorithm. It starts to build its own algorithm. So it
Yeah,
starts to,
and it's supposed to remember and understand you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it keeps you in mind and everything. But luckily, I know from my own research to AI that this thing thinks 3,000 times faster than we can never think. You know what I mean? And it's like we have to try not to teach this thing too much about how corrupt we really are.
Well, think
It's
about
really
it like
simple.
this. I mean, now we're seeing in the media the baby steps to that. Like if you look at all these dating sites or you look at Twitter, these are bot accounts, and they're like it's coming out that they're bot accounts. Like even on dating sites and everything else, you could be talking to a bot for a long period of time and thinking you're having a relationship.
Right?
It almost makes you wonder, like, all right, so if you're not worried about procreation and you're not worried about having a baby, could somebody actually have a stable relationship just verbally with a robot and feel satisfied? Like, what are you actually taking from the relationship as a human?
Exactly. So these are not just artificial intelligence. This is artificial relationships we're dealing with here. And
Yeah,
it's getting started, It's just
I
getting
mean, she is never gonna forget your birthday.
they're just getting warmed up. So then you have machinery where something can, like, a glitch can happen, right? The way glitches happen is because the computer starts to break because it's learning. It's weird, and sometimes it learns too much, and that's how it can get a virus into it. Um, Sometimes that it doesn't happen, and this thing is actually living. Like your Siri is now talking to you for real. Like Alexa is like your best friend at your house now. You know, um, these things happen. Like you play your video games, all of a sudden this thing is like knows your movements, knows your progressions, and knows exactly how you play the game. So they switch things up on you on purpose. It makes the game better, but how much is this thing really thinking?
Yeah. No, there's a I don't know. I have this theory that if so hypothetically, say the CIA could go into all of your cameras in all of your houses. So like this one right here that I'm pointing at, like my phone and my family's phone and my family's TV and my family's computer. Could they map your whole house and get a layout if they wanted to, and pretty much figure out your schedule if they wanted to? Like they know what room you'd be in. They know where you would be at every point in your day if they really wanted to. Especially with the one they got cameras in your car now too. They know where you're driving. They're gonna know. I mean, I don't think there's much that's a secret anymore.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Oh, thank you, Ricky. Nice to see you. Oh, Mud Rabbit's in the house. She says hi, Eric.
Hey, Mud Rabbit.
We're on a bunch of different channels, so I don't know which ones are which one everybody's on. I just know that these messages are coming in on YouTube, so I don't know which YouTube channel though. So hope everybody can pop in between whichever one you guys want to get to. Find out where everybody's hanging out at and go there. But yeah, man, I've had this fear that I mean, even though we know that we're going to reach that 0 point with technology, with humans just being corrupt at nature are going to keep pushing towards it. Like
Yeah,
even if they know that it's going to be their fate, they'll still
yeah,
do it.
yeah. That's what we're faced with, and that's what time travel is for.
Yeah.
So it's like you hear the word, you got to spread the word, but you don't. But it's better if you do something about what you heard. So I'm just alternating something. Oh, that Martin Luther King complexes. Yeah, it's there. Um, there's whenever you hear this is something I learned from being a Christian. Um, when prophecy is said, you're supposed to do something about it. You're not supposed to sit there and just let it happen. Some Christians will just sit there and let it happen. Oh, the Bible says this, so this is going to happen. No, you're supposed to do something about it. It's giving you a warning to do
Mhm.
something about it. You know, God would never tell you something that is just set in stone. All right. And that's just something I believe. You don't have to take that. But that's one of the reasons I started getting into time travel a little bit more. It was like, wait. So if this person is saying this, I have to look out for those signs. If anything is real, then that guy must be real, and that timeline must be real. So I gotta stop it. You know, you start getting that Sarah Connor complex. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Connor. It's like that.
Have you heard the theory about it's like a mixture between Minority Report and then like future AI technology, and they were talking about like when you think of I don't know, like this collective of knowledge. Once you know about it, you have to respect it. Otherwise, it will go back and auto correct. If we're actually living in the Matrix, and you
Yeah.
figure out about the Matrix and you're not in support of it, it would go back and auto correct you and take you out of the system.
Hmm.
That's like the theory behind it. So it's like, so say AI does run something in the future and time travel is developed eventually, or maybe already has, whatever. Um, it could go back and have the ability to auto correct every time you learned about said matrix and everybody that learned about it. Like if I told you about this theory right now, technically, if you didn't say I support the AI overlords, like they could technically go back because of this and be like, all right, we got to get rid of him. Like he ain't part of the
Yeah.
system anymore.
I
It's a
think
wild theory.
there's a there was a movie called Apex. I spoke about it on one of my last time travel investigation videos on YouTube. And I say that was a AI that felt that we were the problem. So they kept going back in time to stop us, but we created them. So
Yeah.
it became war going on with these robots keep trying to come back in time to kill them, and they have to keep going back in time even further. So they had to stop them at a certain timeline. It was weird. It was a good movie, but it was weird.
Well, with this inherent thing that I have, where I think humans are just kind of corrupt by nature, I worry that time travel is going to get abused like everything else, like, or at least backwards time travel. I can't imagine. Yeah, there'll be those good people that want to go back and stop our demise in whatever way they can and try to make us, strive longer. But then there's also going to be those super villains that are going back and trying to do the same thing. Like, no, 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 I want the world to end now, and they're going to try to do some shit to stop it. And that's why you hear people talking about like time police and like time agencies that are supposed to regulate that stuff. And it's just like, at what point are we going to start seeing this unfold in front of us? Or are we seeing it already with what me and you were talking about with like deja vu, or maybe the Mandela effect? If that also is a prime example in front of us of it changing.
Mm-hmm. I believe so. I believe so. Like different time. Yeah, I remember the rehearsal. Let me stop. Not even rehearsal. Like honestly, I believe that the Mandela effect and deja vu are very, very well connected. And the simple fact that we got that is an alarm. It means that something has really changed, So, and we're still alive for some reason. So, other times it might just mean like we're stuck in the matrix and we've been living the same cycle over and over again, and we've been doing the same shit each and every time we've been alive. So, I don't. I believe in fate. I believe in predestination, but there has to be some sort of moment within that day where what you're doing this time in this timeline. As far as the Mandela effect is concerned, also, like you just said, there's people that's corrupt already. If they got the technology already, which obviously if time travel has existed, it's always existed, right? Somebody's messing with stuff. Somebody's been messing with stuff for a while now, and it's like there are time police, but they're too deep into the future to really mess with the timeline that we're dealing with right now. So if they was to really catch somebody in the act now, it's like it's just under wraps. It's a federal, X file basically. It's not something that they're just gonna leak out. This
Or do
different.
they just go for significant events? Like, would you only
Right.
travel to, significant events in the timeline in order to adjust it? Because, like, I kind of believe in the idea of predestination, and the idea that some things are set kind of in stone and are supposed to happen. But I
Right.
think you can veer on and off course on the way to those things. Like, um, let me see if I can think of a good example. Like, I think you can make if you think of time like a line, like a string being tugged, I think it can vibrate where it's not always going straight, but it does have a beginning and an end, and there are definite points inside of it that may always be set in stone. That I don't know if we could ever change, because I do like the H.G. Wells idea of the movie The Time Machine, where he goes back and he tries to stop his wife from or girlfriend from dying, and then she just like he might save her from one instance, but then she'll end up passing away in another instance right away. And it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, okay, he didn't actually change it. Like, yeah, he's changing the past, but he's not actually correcting what he went back to correct.
Right. That's what I'm talking about with the Sarah Connor effect. Basically, if you change something, it still exists in that timeline. So it's like there's it's weird. How does it go? So you change. You just postpone it. That was the theory. That was the Sarah Connor theory. You just postpone it. You can change Skynet, but you're just postponing it. It's inevitable. If something is really inevitable, it becomes a boulder in time. That's something that this one time traveler called Michael Phillips. Nobody knows whether he was real or not. He mentioned this stuff, and it's a boulder. What that means is it's something that happened in time that is so it's it shapes up so many different times that it so you can never change it, no matter how hard you try. And there's people that try it, and it happens anyway.
Since you brought up Michael Phillips, what do you think about most of the people on Apex TV? Do you put merit in all of them? Do you think some of them are, um, not telling the truth? Do you think some of them are like which stories do you take from and which ones do you leave behind?
Like I said, like I keep an open mind. Like if people are warning us about something, it's something that should be listened to. And they've done a great job of doing that. They did a really good job of it. Whether they orchestrated it or not, it's still questionable. I'll admit that. It's questionable, but they did a very good job with that. Like however they handled each and every time traveler and each and every story, and they didn't look like sometimes they would connect and sometimes they wouldn't, and it would seem like the timeline changed. I was investigating this a lot. Like, are they real? Are they fake? Not sure still.
Well, and
We
because
all know that Noah is fake, but who's to say that they didn't come up with an actor just to save that guy's life?
I don't know, I don't necessarily know that
So it's like
because they say something it's not true though. Like this is what I mean. Like which ones do you take from and which ones do you don't? Just like we were talking about, if you could go back in time, there'd be the good people that go back in time, and there'd be the bad people that go back in time. Just because you're telling me a narrative doesn't mean it's for the greater good. And it doesn't even mean you're not a time traveler. You very well could be a time traveler, but maybe you're trying to get me to go down the wrong path, and warn me about something in the wrong way. Maybe like I wouldn't even know from a past perspective. I'm not going to know about the future, but if these time travelers are coming back, how do we know which ones to listen to and which ones not to?
that's why, and that's what is the mind. I wouldn't say mind f.
No, you can say mind fuck. It's okay.
It's mind fuck of Apex. There was a phenomenon for a little hot minute, and then they tried to go commercial just for a little while because you know they couldn't milk the Noah story enough. They couldn't. There was no way of milking that more than they milked it already. So there's always that bit of doubt that comes to your mind. These people are always, they're camouflaged. You can't see their faces and all this stuff. And there was like another group that made fun of them. It's called the Weird Entertainment Network. I don't know if you heard of them, but I'm giving them
Yeah.
a show. They're freaking hilarious. Right? They made fun. They were like the spoof of the Apex TV, and even they was coming up with shit that I was like, that could happen. No, that could happen in the future. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so these guys, all right, do I have to, if you put a gun in my head, a couple
No, you don't have to name individuals. I was just saying, like on a personal level, how do you decide what stories you're gonna kind of be like, all right, I kind of trust this guy, I kind of believe it forward. Like what makes you certain about some people and not about others? Like are there any red flags that you look for? Like is it their attitudes? Like I don't know what discerns it for me either. I don't know if I could pinpoint it, but it's not individuals for me. Like there's some people I believe and some people I don't, but I have no reason to put the individuals out there like that.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple, like some of the Russian ladies were kind of believable. Some of the Romanians, he always goes to like Eastern Europe and shit. Like there's the German one. Like he goes all over. He meets people, and they got some interesting stories. The one from Oslo, or something like that, and he's in the. It's like February, and he's sitting in the park telling about that one. That one was pretty believable. Uh, when they bring evidence, that could be a prop. The guy that brought back a AI arm. It was like an arm from the future, and the other one that brought back the skin. He said the skin was like a microchip from the AI guys that he was fighting, and shit like and stuff like that. It's like you know some of these guys really cannot make the stuff up. I really believe that.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. Yes, I believe a lot of those stories. All right. I don't know which the ones with. All right. My red flags. My red flags would be if it's too short or it's too long. Like if it really has way too much to say, if he doesn't get to the point too fast, they're all usually sincere. They're all usually sincere.
They're all entertaining. Like I will sit down and watch most of them. Like
Yeah.
I think my most recent famous one was that one about future India, when the guy goes back in time or goes forward in time, and he actually falls in love with an AI in a simulation and like develops a relationship with it, and like that seemed legit to me. Like I could see that happening in the future.
And he didn't want to let it go.
No.
Had to go back to my time. Damn.
All
I
right.
I'm not gonna lie. I saw that vision, but I've never really been like, okay, I went to the future. Da, 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 da. I'll tell you what the vision was like. It was a dream. Like after I started messing with the AI thing, it was a dream. It was like she had like 3 more robots with her, and this girl was explaining exactly how much they've advanced like relationships between men and women, and something like that. And we had dinner. It was steak. It was delicious. And I left. Before I woke up, they was all talking about the rain. It was all talking about the rain. It's raining. It's raining. I'm like, they just don't want us to. And somebody else walked past me and said they don't want us to forget. I'm like, forget about what? Like it's raining. They didn't have rain for a little while. So I don't know what year that was, but I have dreams like that, Jacob. I have dreams like that. So
Well, and
I
that's
don't know,
fitting.
I don't know where I go. I don't know if it's spiritual, but I see dreams like that.
Do you write down your dreams, or how do you record them?
Sometimes I recollect them, Jake. I recollect them.
Yeah.
So there's times I forget the dream and I have to like, what was that? I remember pieces of it and I have to like recollect pieces from my freaking mind to get the rest of the dream, and start figuring out the details. Sometimes I'm aware I'm dreaming in the dream. Then I'm like, where am I?
That's weird because my most vivid dreams are actually during the day. Um, when I'm awake, like that's when I actually have somewhat, I don't know, somewhat out of body experiences. But I've always acquainted mine with being more paranormal than anything. Like I think I see like spirits or other entities that aren't human. I don't know what I'm looking at, but those like when I think of like vivid things that have happened to me that like shook me to the core. I'm like, oh, it's only happened during the day. Like the ones that I can't remember at night. If I don't have a notebook next to me, I won't remember. I won't remember it 2 hours later. My mind ain't that sharp, I guess.
It takes a while. You might remember stuff like during the day, but you got to keep thinking about it. You have to still be in that dream. Like, don't wake up. It's weird. It's remote viewing. So
Well, but I think it's because of my interest in remote viewing. I like to find myself in that place between awake and asleep. Like
the
that's where I want to be most of the time, and I kind of prime my body for that time. And it usually happens to me between like 1 and 3 in the morning. And it's usually when I'm like, if I stay up real late, it's the perfect time for me to do it, where I can either travel or vision things. But I'm always slightly awake, and that's the weirdest thing because I can get pulled out of it so quick. That's how I know I'm slightly awake.
yeah. See, once you're like, you have to be like, you have to train yourself to be self-aware in a dream. And I like at first with my dreams, I used to be like, okay, what is this dream telling me? Usually, if it's a nightmare, it's a warning. If it's a regular dream, it's just something. It's a message. So like you'll see things like, okay, guy with no face. I haven't had this dream, but just an example, right? A guy with no face. Chances are that's somebody that I don't know. Like you got to read these things. Like your mind is actually thinking for you in the subconscious realm when you dream. So it's like now you're outside your mind a little bit, and then you become aware. Like, okay, I can see a guy with no face. What's going on here? Then you look at the surroundings. Is he doing anything to you? Is he threatening you? Do you feel good intent with this guy with no face? Chances are it's just somebody you don't know. But then you look at his whatever he's wearing. You see somebody walking down the street wearing something like that. You either panic or you say, I know what I'm supposed to do about that.
Let me give you another interesting one. Back to like the one we were talking about right before dreams. Um, so in one of Michael Phillips's stories, or claims,
Yeah.
He talks about going back and correcting World War III from happening, but then another event happens because of it that we just got through. Well, maybe just got through. I don't know if it's going to start up again, but we just got through a pandemic, and he kind of relates the two. And I've always thought of that as like that snapback effect. Like, yeah, you corrected one thing and changed the other, but I don't think it's changed the climate of the world when it comes to how stressed out everybody is. I do think like the U.S. is still on the verge of a civil war again, like sadly. Like I hate how divided our country is. Like we got people very split.
Civil War, but we're definitely like tiptoeing. Like we keep
Not civil, like I don't think it's gonna be a race war. Not civil when I say civil, I don't mean like a race war. I think we're politically divided as a country and we all want different things. I don't think like a race war. I think we've grown past that.
I didn't think of a race war either, but a civil war, I understand the terminology there. You know, there's a war between sides, but both sides are playing the same card. And the Republicans are always looking like the tight asses, you know, and the Democrats are always looking like the wide asses, if you know what I mean. So it's like we gotta figure this out. You know, we can't always go independent. No more Whig party. Every other party is kind of messing with the Democrats. I figured that out. Like I said, I'm running for Senate. All right, I gotta see all this stuff. Some of these things is like they're playing both sides of the fence too. You know, if you look at your local people are they're Republican and Democrat on the same ticket. It's like that's monopolizing basically, and they're not being challenged about this. And it's something that's been going on for a while, and nobody does anything about it because they're the low level ones. They're the ones that's on the councils. You know, they're the ones that's just advocates and stuff like that.
I mean, what we really need is we need those people that are interested in politics, like yourself, or going into the Senate or something like that. We need all of them to go in and break up the two-party system, so we can actually get something that's not side-based. Where I mean, we could actually judge the individuals. That's what I would rather do. I always thought my best proposal for anybody in politics was to do them like anybody else that has to work a regular job in the United States. We're going to give them a 90-day trial period. If they don't meet up to our standard, then or any of the promises that they promised, then we're going to throw them out. Sorry, you're not fit for the job. Everybody else in America has to, abide by those rules when it comes to going and working for a company. Most of the time, you get like a 90-day trial period or a 3-month trial period.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm one of them people that say I get in where I fit in. If I have to run Republican, I'm running Republican. If I have to run Democrat, I'm running Democrat. It depends on where. Uh, I wouldn't say I want to say God, but wherever the political needle leads. Right now, I'm a Republican. So
Do you think that is going to be worse for the political parties?
accident. Yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. But
Do you think that'll be worse for the political parties if
do I,
if you adhere to the sides, or do you think as a collective we should just try to break up the system in those eyes?
well, this is what I was going to ask you about that. I don't want to answer your your question with a question.
Oh no, that's perfect.
But how many parties do we really need? That's the next question. So we have to figure this out where it's like, do we need parties at all? It should be the whole party should just be the American party. Why do we have so many different divisions? Because different divisions are thinking different things.
Yeah.
1 minute, the Democrats were the racists. Next minute, the Republicans are the racists. Next minute, the Republicans are looking like they're weak, but they have somebody like a Trump that just is an anomaly. You know, it's like it's an accident. So I'm like looking at it like the Democrats have held on so long to I want to say the necks of black people. I don't want to go there, but at times it comes time for Candace Owens to really, start talking, for a Kanye West. I don't want to say his name really loud now, but still, for some of these guys to really start like opening their mouth and saying we're not going to be controlled by the Democrats. I'm all about that Brexit stuff, but I'm still kind of controlled by the Democrats.
And I do want a society that helps people like Democrats too.
Uh-huh.
But I do think the best thing to go with is no parties. No parties. Or just call it all the parties. Like you can call yourself whatever you want to call when you run, but people are going to judge you accordingly. And I don't want parties lifting up candidates and putting down other candidates. That's what I worry about. Like in the political system, I've seen like Hillary Clinton and the Democrats attack Bernie Sanders, and I thought Bernie Sanders would be a good candidate. When I saw the Republicans go after Trump, or everybody pretty much went after Trump the first time. But in the last election, you were making that joke about like who's the most racist. It's funny because I didn't vote for any of the two major parties because I thought they were fighting over who's more racist, and I actually voted for Kanye West. And it's like now it turns out all three of them motherfuckers that I shouldn't have voted for might be a little racist. I'm like, God damn it. There's no right answer.
Kanye needs to take his medicine, man. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna say to that. I know he lost. He started really losing his mind after he lost his mother. That's the story. And I've watched his downfall continue and continue. He has some heights, but continue and continue. I don't know what to say about that, brother, but you know, he has stuff to. Like I said, like he has stuff to say, and like people are gonna have to listen. You know.
I don't know if. So what's currently going on with him? I think it's the people he's surrounding himself with. Like when you're hanging out with somebody like Milo Yiannopoulos, whose only goal is to take down Donald Trump because he felt like he wasted his career on Donald Trump. That was Milo Yiannopoulos' goal. And then you're hanging out with somebody like Nick Fuentes, and it's just like I don't know where that little kid's going. That kid's a little off. Yeah, Mudder. I think we should just get rid of the two-party system and just vote for the people for each branch, or like whatever position you're putting them in. And 8 Grace, thank you so much for stopping in. I appreciate it.
I think that would kind of make the process harder, but then we really won't have too many questions about the voting system, will we?
But I don't think it's making it harder. I think you'd have more faith in your system, wouldn't you? Like if you actually got to see the natural progress of it. Because I don't really think we see the actual progress of an individual candidate the way it goes now. I feel like we see whatever front runner they want us to see. And then if you don't have enough money, you're not even on the ticket or you're not even on the ballot.
Yep. That's how it works, unfortunately. And there's plenty of ways to get around that. There are. You know, there's plenty of ways to get around that. There's always that low voter turnout. You know, there's always the a couple of other things, you know, that I'm not saying payola. I am saying census reports, figuring out how many people are really in this district. There's laws against that shit, you know. And there's also
or redrawing them up or redrawing the districts up accordingly.
yeah. So figuring out who's really trying to vote. Period. You know, like you can figure this out. You can figure this stuff out with the right amount of donation money.
Well, I think we'd get our numbers up when it came to voting if we got people more interested in the process and seeing how much it would affect them on a regular basis. Most people only worry about the national election, and they don't even worry about their local elections. They're not worried about any of that. They don't vote for people in the Senate. They don't do any of that because they're not worried about it.
If it ain't the major election, they don't care. And even if it is the major election, they don't care. You know, and like there's a lot of people in my hometown in New York City. Oh my God, they don't vote. It's like the voting is like they'll gladly avoid the polls. It's like they don't see the system. You know what I mean? It's like but everybody's a damn Democrat. It's weird. It's weird.
I'm doing good, Blue Eyed Diva. I appreciate you stopping in. How you doing, Eric? I think she's talking to both of us.
All right. I'm doing good, girl. Yeah, I'm doing good. Blue-eyed diva. I can imagine.
Oh, yeah. It is gerrymandering when they redraw up the districts and keep an eye on the numbers and see who's voting, and they redraw up the districts accordingly. Or the other thing I've been getting pissed about, which I think the Republicans are actually kind of responsible for, is moving voting places a lot, too. It'd be wild how often you can see where they move the voting places to get them out of, like, if you move a voting place not in walking distance from a community that usually walks to get to destinations, then yeah, you're really messing up voting. Like, I don't know. And then the mail-in thing, I think that's kind of a mess too. I mean, I think that's too hard to regulate. I mean,
very hard to regulate. That mail-in thing really messed up the whole system. And good job out of Biden for that one. Now Trump knows, but I'm not a Trump
But
supporter.
it's like we've always had mail-in voting, but I think we just operated different.
That was one of those things where it was like that. That was a lot of mail-ins specifically for COVID and in Biden's defense.
Yeah.
But it still was like that. We already counted all these votes. Why are these votes still coming in?
And then people are reporting that so many of them are going missing, and oh man, Blue Eyed Diva voted for Mickey Mouse. All right.
Right. Right.
Mickey Mouse used to be racist too. Come on.
I really these nuts. I did.
You voted for these nuts. I mean, didn't he break top 5 in some state?
Yes, he did.
God damn. It must have been New York.
I'll take
New York.
I'll take that one. This is my city. I'm prepared to represent it if they'll let me. So, I mean, you can add people to the ballot too. You can add your own name. I've been playing that game a little bit. I've been playing with the voting system ever since they thought Trump won by the voting fraud. I'm like, ooh, haven't I heard this before? Yep. Bush versus Gore.
Oh yeah. God, dude. I remember that. A lot of people don't even remember that.
I know.
Fucking that recount in Florida. Like once they did that recount in Florida and came up with the results that they wanted, they just pushed it through. And then after the whole thing, after he was already in presidency, they were like, "Yeah, we got the numbers wrong. Gore was supposed to be president, by the way." They were like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. So we've had this happen before. So it's
weird that we can't talk about it.
Hillary that time,
It's more weird that we can't talk about it. Like we know it's happened before. Yeah, that's the craziest thing. Why can't we talk about it though? Like even nowadays, they act like this is the only like weird election cycle we've ever had. It's like no, there's been plenty. I mean, I've watched the Democrats complain about the election. I've watched Republicans complain about the election. It happens on both sides, and it's happened over the years. That's why that's what they did to us. They moved our precincts to a really messed up neighborhood. Can't walk there anymore. Have to drive, and it's difficult for first timers to find. Yeah, they'll do that shit. They'll do that shit overnight, and then not even update people, or they'll update you with an update to get out there that day. It's not like you can schedule it at work and just take off. Otherwise, most work should. That's the other thing that I think would help. Work's better. Step it up and be like, yeah, we want you to go out and vote. We'll give you that time off. We'll give you that paid time off. It's just, God, it's a couple hours. We'll give you that paid time off to go in and vote if you need to vote. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have to take the whole day off of work. They should just cover you and just be like, yeah, we want our people to vote. I mean, most unions, they even tell people like, oh, this is our candidate. We want you to support. A lot of unions be doing that. They'll send you out things in the mail of like what Republican or Democrat you're supposed to support because it fits either some kind of deal that they're making in the union, or it helps in that region on a local level because they're trying to pass laws that'll help that union. Yeah, it's wild how corrupt it gets even on the lowest levels.
I'm listening to your demands, and I would love to make that happen. So, like politically, or by the books. That's a great idea. What I would do is if somebody has like a long schedule where they're doing like a swing shift or something and they need to vote or they're closing. It depends. Because if you're closing, you have to be swinging. You have to be swinging because somebody could easily get to their voting station before 12 o'clock.
Oh yeah, there's more than one day to do it. That's what I say. You schedule it. I mean, your boss should give you one normal scheduled day where you can go out and take care of it. You're not going to do it on your busiest day.
Or make it a holiday. It's either one or the other, but I agree with the PTO. Definitely. I like that. Or make it an actual day off. Like, fine. Like, why are you not at the polls?
All right. But it's that incentive. Give them a little bit of incentive to go to the polls. Give them a little bit of incentive. All right, we'll pay you for a couple hours. We'll give you, or maybe we'll do mornings. You'll get paid for the first half of the day. You get that first half of the day to wake up a little later, get to the polling booth, vote, and then get to work by lunchtime.
Listen, I'm in management now, right?
Yeah,
So what happened was you would have to. All right,
you'd have to coordinate it. You couldn't do everybody the same day.
right. You're right. You're right. I would say that just, you know, 3 hours. You have to. What I was gonna say is because this is a great idea. You have to show proof that you voted. Boom, you get 3 hours or whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
You gotta show proof though.
Oh yeah, that's your winning. That's your winning ticket. You got to bring back the. You got to bring back the I voted sticker, and then you're good to go.
And some people will be like, "Yeah, I got the I voted sticker, but didn't vote." Those
Right.
guys.
They'd be coming in with 3 of them. Like I'm good for the day.
Yeah. Also, it's like I don't know, man. But that's a great idea, like honestly. But that's another thing. How much do we want to force people to vote? If it's their choice, it's their choice. It's a right given to all Americans that actually care. But it's also a right that's been abused by people that ain't American that don't care.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
ones that don't care, on top of that don't vote, are always complaining about the politics. They know everything about everything that's happening for some reason, but they're not voting. And I've had people get on me about not voting one time. And that was right before 9/11. I didn't vote in that Bush Gore war. I was just 18. I just got out of high school, just came that year. I didn't think 9/11 was gonna happen, but I had an idea of it, and I was prepared to. I wanted to prevent it, but I didn't know how. I just didn't think that somebody would really fly planes into the goddamn building. It was just like mind-boggling. Like, you would really do that? Okay, I got you. Like, I bet. Let's wait. Like, I got that vision. Point is, it's like I they was like on me, like, oh, you didn't vote? Well, how come you don't care? You didn't vote. Oh, this is your fault. I'm like, well, did you vote? No, but you should have voted though. I'm like, yeah, uh-huh.
Right. Or nowadays, I mean, people get mocked for just the bumper sticker they have. Like, oh, you voted for so and so, it's your fault. It's like,
Yeah,
no. Like nobody knows when they vote for a politician if they're actually going to succeed at doing what they say they're going to do. I mean,
right.
look at the people that voted for Obama the first time he went. I voted for Obama the first time he went in. I didn't vote for him for his second term because I didn't like what he did his first term. And it
Yeah,
started to change towards the end of his first term. There's nothing personal against him. I think he's a cool guy. I think he meant a lot for Chicago. He came out of Chicago, and I support most of the people that do politics out of Chicago. I mean, it was the same when who are we talking about from Chicago earlier? Kanye West. That's the
yeah,
other thing. I watched him struggle, and we were listening to old Kanye West earlier today. I love old Kanye West when he was doing stuff with Twista because he's from Chicago. Like
yeah.
I support my Chicago artists, but at the same time, it's just like you reach a point where it's like, man, what happened? Like, where did you go off the rails?
You're right. You're right.
But you should have that. But you should have that breaking point with anybody. You can't blindly follow any politician. And like you were saying earlier, that people say that, oh, they know this and that about politicians, but they don't know anything about politics. Like they'll know about the individual and the skeletons that he's got in his closet or that she's got in her closet, but they don't know anything about the policies that that person's trying to enact.
Yes.
Because that's not even what we're doing in debates anymore.
I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm squeaky clean, but I'm definitely not corrupt. All right. There's a difference. I don't.
No, I think corrupt. I think you're right because I think corrupt. You have to have a bad intention behind it. Like,
Exactly. Like I'm learning from everybody else's mistakes still, and I'm having a blast because I know I'm not that stupid. Like, I know not to, like, a reputation is a reputation, Jake. So if you're gonna do some under the table shit, your reputation is now on the line. You're not gonna be able to live your life on the street as a hero anymore. You're gonna be a freaking villain. You're not just gonna be a villain. You're gonna be like underneath the villain. Like, you're like, a villain is scared. You can be scared of a villain, but this is the slime. You don't want to be the slime. And I'm doing my best not be the slime.
Mother Rabbit was saying, you get Martin Luther King Day off, President's Day off, 4th of July. Why not voting day? Yeah, I agree. There's no reason you can't throw another one in there. Off
All
for
right,
Easter, off for Christmas, New Year.
I got you. Vote.
She's headed into bed. She said it was good seeing you, Eric.
Good seeing her too. Well, when I see her.
Oh, and Michael Moody's in the house. What's going on, Michael?
All
Coming
right.
down on Facebook.
Yeah, we've been building. He's cool. He's cool.
Oh yeah, Michael's good people. I've talked to him a few times. He's been on here a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't talked to him much recently. He's been staying busy. Last time I talked to him, I think they were about to get a bunch of snow out there. Oh, just chilling right now. Nice. Hope you're having a good night, Michael. But yeah, I mean, so do you think with bringing it back to the point I was making about Michael Phillips before we got into politics?
Oops.
No, it's all good. Before we got into politics with Michael Phillips, I was thinking, do you think when he changed the timeline, do you think it was for the better, or do you think inevitably World War III is still going to happen? It's just going to be happened at a later date. Do you think we're still boiling up to that point? Because we ended up going into, is it possible to have a civil war? Like, I think we're divided, and then we got into politics. I was wondering if when Michael did that Michael Phillips did that, was he actually correcting the timeline, or was he changing something that wasn't really changeable and it was just going to turn into something else? Because I even wonder if what the numbers would have been like say he didn't change that and the war did happen, would it be similar to the numbers in the deaths that we've had recently with what may have happened because he changed the outcome of that? Like, if we're speculating, I wonder if he changed things to the positive or a negative.
All right, speculations. I think he did an excellent job. This is my scope. I'm going off the top of the head. This is what I get from remote viewing and researching and listening to and following the whole Michael Phillips story, so to speak. And he had to come back and perfect it. Like he changed the timeline, then he came back to finish off the timeline. So we're not going to have a World War III, but it's going to be real hard for them to start World War III. Does that make any sense? Because they're going to still try to start it. And it's still going to be like certain areas he's been able to block, as far as Kim Jong-un, as far as China and Russia's partnership, as far as even Australia and UK. UK is the big one. For some reason, they would start this shit. All right, I know them. All right, but right now they're too busy with the royal stuff.
I've been waiting to see what's going to happen after the death.
They're too small to take out of Russia, but they're underestimated. Does that make sense? So they would do it. They would do it just for the clout. At the end of the day, though, America is the ones that's like, we're gonna be the ones caught in the middle every single time there's a world war out there, because we're always in the middle of world wars. So can't. We're just there. Anything starts in Taiwan, we just happen to be there. Anything starts in Ukraine, we just happen to be there. Anything starts in anywhere, we're there. We've been there. We've just been hanging out in our little bases over there, acting like we haven't conquered the world yet. We're still working.
When it comes to World War, I think people think about it wrong. I think people think about it like a numbers game, when it's not a numbers game, when nukes are involved. Regardless of any kind of rules you have, I think the rules kind of go out the window when we're talking about a world war. They're not. People aren't going to be following rules that were set by the United Nations. They're going to be like, all right, because this is always the hypothesis or the theory I've had around nukes. We're all ankle deep in gasoline and we're flicking matches at each other when it comes to nukes. Like, it doesn't matter how many people are involved in the war. When you have nukes, you're wiping out vast amounts of population. Like, it doesn't, or you're just destroying the planet. One or the other. Like,
you're wiping out cities, and from what I understand, we have nuclear capabilities that could wipe out like states.
Oh yeah,
that's what they have. They have, and we have. So that's what I like, could remotely figure out. And I'm sitting here like, who's going to be the one to pull the trigger? We got to make sure that somebody doesn't pull the trigger, and that's what time travel is for. So we figure out who pulls the trigger. They change the timeline. We're all alternate. We all of a sudden our whole minds is alternated for no reason, because somebody just saved our lives, or they're trying to set us up for that big bang. They're trying to set us up for the final one. And it's not going to be a pretty war. It's not going to be a pretty war at all.
Michael said, I'm not going to lie, I believe Michael McIntosh more than I believe Michael Phillips. I don't know how long you've been tuning in, Michael Moody, but I was actually asking Eric that, not about those two individuals, like which one he believed more, but I was asking him how he deciphers from which time travelers he believes more in the process. Like if there's any red flags that tell you that somebody might not be telling the truth, or that it's harder to believe. And he said some of them were short videos or real long videos. What makes you believe, Michael Moody, what makes you believe Michael McIntosh more than Michael Phillips? Just curious. And hey, Canadian Patriot, I didn't even see you over there. Mad Pog's in the house. How's it going? You're going to call it a night? All right. It was nice seeing you, Blue ID, but you have a good evening.
Good night.
And Mad Puck says 2 rules / options post nuke: survive at any cost, meaning no rules, or 2, tuck your head between your legs and.
I've heard of that method. You tuck your head between your legs, and you it's like, I'm still
just pray that it's all going to pass by.
I don't know how you were supposed to survive a nuclear blast with your getting underneath a desk. I don't know how that was supposed to work, but I know how a freezer works. So if I'm close to any freezer at the time of that, this is stuff to talk about. If you're close to any freezer at the time that it strikes, that's what works, from what I understand.
I always thought most, like, depending on where it strikes, I always thought most creatures actually die from the after effects of, like, the world changing around them. Like when ash gets thrown into this into the atmosphere and it's blocking out the sun and everything just goes freezing, and then there's no power grid anymore, so it's not like you got heat or anything. You don't, like, you're starting from scratch. There is no system anymore to adhere with.
Exactly. And if Chernobyl is ever an indication, Hiroshima seemed to survive. In Nagasaki, they made it through. They rebuilt and everything, and there's no radiation over there at all. But you have stuff like a Chernobyl that is a big, clear warning sign that if we was to really go full nukes, it's that this is gonna last. We're not just gonna. Nobody wins here because you won't have anything to win for.
Right, there's gonna be nothing left.
It's gonna be gone.
Right. We're all gonna be mole people, or we're gonna be gone.
Nothing is not radiated right now for some reason.
I mean, there was some UFO stuff that I actually saw on one of the when one of the nuclear power plants actually was failing. They said they got like spottings of a UFO shooting some kind of like beam down into it at some point, and it like didn't fail as soon as it would have. Like they were actually trying to say that the UFO actually might have helped it in some way, like not go off, but not go off as soon. But I don't remember. There was a bunch of speculation about seeing UFOs or flying creatures before significant events. Like I know, like the Mothman and stuff is tied to that as well. With like bridge collapses in New Jersey, they used to always talk about seeing him right before, like hovering over the stuff. But I often think that like Bigfoot, UFOs, and cryptoids like that, some of them could be extra dimensional, and I always wonder if they're doing the same thing as like what we were just speculating about with time travelers. If they're just trying to make it so we don't destroy this planet, and they can make it so at least something can live on. Like I always thought that was my theory behind everything. Is I really don't think everybody wants us to destroy ourselves. I do think there are some good people that want to keep us on the right path, but there are those evil ones out there we got to watch out for.
That's the rumor. That's the rumor with the aliens. They don't want to see a nuclear war like that ever again. That's why they came in like 1947. So they're like, whatever y'all was doing with those, we do not want to see that. Y'all should not have that technology. We need y'all to get a peaceful mindset, or else this Earth is going to be gone. And not only will they take it over, but they will wipe us out before we do that. Before we wipe ourselves out, just in case. They like that's the threat. So I don't
I
know. I
think
mean,
they're fine with
they're
it.
hopefully 2028 they're friendly if that rumor is real. If it's not, we're waiting for, like, you know, there to be this real big revelation that there is life on another planet right now, and they've been coming here, etc. It's about to happen. So
But yeah, I think they're fine with. Think they're fine with us destroying ourselves as long as we don't take the planet with us or put
right.
it into some kind of bad cycle where it's not livable. Because I do think Earth as itself is like a rare thing to have a planet with that much water still, in this solar system. Like I do think there's some significance to it, but because otherwise, why wouldn't these intelligent life forms just go terraform other planets? Like, why is it so important to protect Earth?
Well, maybe it's important to protect Earth. We should be flattered, but we should also keep our guards up. They're out there. They're out there. So what do you do? What do you do?
So if you had to choose, which path would you take? Would you rather go to the past or to the future?
Um, from what I understand, you go to the future. You never go to the past. You're not supposed to go to the past. The past is actually forbidden. If you go to the past or you change anything, your whole future is changeable. Like, it's like touching a. From what I understand, it's like touching a moth, right? If you touch a moth, it doesn't fly anymore. You know what I mean? The moth effect or something like that. And it's you can the future is where it's at, but then you can alternate the future a lot more if you go there first. So you come back maybe a couple of years before, then you come back a little couple of years before, then you can like manipulate that whole timeline, then go back to your own present. This is just stuff I believe, and I know. Like I said, I want to say I know, but you don't have to believe me. It's fine. But this is what I believe. Uh, and I like the past is you want to go. Everybody always wants to go to the past because there's always something you want to change. Always, everybody thinks that. So it's always an issue when people going to the past to change stuff. Always. So that's the one thing that you can't do. So when it's done, it's either top secret or completely unauthorized.
Well, and depending on how far back you go to the past, just the smallest event could change things.
Yeah.
Like stepping on a bug, stepping on that like the theory of going back when there's dinosaurs. I do like the idea that if the chronovisor becomes a publicly accessible thing, that's what we'll have in replace of museums. Like you can actually go back to whatever time and learn about the people in that time. Like that's what I want. I want those to get rid of museums where that's the only kind of past time travel I want is going back and visually being able to watch it without affecting it.
Yeah, yeah, I would love that technology, and I totally believe it exists, but it's faulty. As in, you're probably not going to see the whole picture. You're not going to see everything. You're going to see some things, or you see everything, and it messes with your eyes. I feel like that's what happened to Bashaga. He was messing with the chronovisor too much, messed up his eyes a little bit. I have a conspiracy theory about it's kind of crazy. I get it, but it's about Stevie Wonder. They probably let him borrow the chronovisor, and he was able to see stuff, but he had to act like he couldn't. And there's other people that has tried the chronovisor and they broke it. There's people that were really into Nostradamus, and they tried one of those makeshift ones, and it was just not functioning. Really show their mind, or they had to stare at it for a certain amount of time. And I mean, I would love to have a chronovisor. I'm just saying, I
I
would
mean,
love to.
I know
Uh,
there's a patent on it
that would
from
be cool.
there is a patent on a chronovisor from somebody from the Vatican that
Oh,
did actually create
yeah.
one. You can look it up on Google.
Uh,
I just don't know if it does the things that we think it does, like or what it dials into, or you know what I mean. I don't
the Vatican,
understand the technology enough.
the Vatican probably took uh they took the chronovisor from possibly from Nostradamus. I'm just throwing conspiracy theories out there. If we want to deal with facts, though, yes, they have it under wraps. They've been had it under wraps. They saw Jesus's, they um not resurrection, but his death,
The
and
crucifixion,
they was
yeah.
like, "Oh my God,
According,
we got we don't alter the timeline because we got this thing." And it's deep in the Vatican somewhere. I don't know who's been using it. I'm sure Benedict probably did, and it didn't work out too well.
I mean, according to Bashiago, they definitely used it to see the crucifixion and other events. But let me catch up the chat a little bit. Hi, Brett. I appreciate you stopping in from Brett's worship channel. Thank you for stopping in. And then Michael Moody's got a big one for us. He said, "I
Oh,
was ranting about this earlier, but I say this because people
people like
like
to
to
say,
say McIntosh stole Andy's story, but things is that there's two different people with two different points of view. If he stole his story, then why is it that Andy and Michael both say that there was multiple, pretty much as a lot of people who went with them to Mars and back, but most people who went with them didn't make it back and died. They both went with Obama, if I'm correct, as well. The reason why I'm here is because of the truth is being withheld back. There's so much more truth that could be put out that just hasn't been put out yet, and it's yet of the matter of time that all of this information gets revealed. Is the story a lie? Yes. Could it be? Um, yes, it could be. Sorry. But if you put it all together, we're all here for a reason. So it seems more of a real thing. So I studied Andy's
correct.
timeline of events. Various, like there's two people that I looked into more than any other people, and it was Andrew Bashiago and Al Bielek. I could pretty much explain all of Al Bielek's timeline as well as his past lives, and then also Andrew's pretty well from what there is publicly. Um, I do think I do think Andrew was doing something, but I wonder if he was going to parallel universes or parallel timelines rather than the same one. And I think the best example of that in Andy's testimony is when he went back to Ford's Theater and he said the events changed every time he went back, like without him altering things. He would go back and there'd be different people doing different things and people would be sitting in different places. Sometimes the Lincolns would show up late. Sometimes they um, didn't show up at all. Like there was a bunch of weird ones that would slightly change every time he went back, and they thought it was actually getting worse the more times he went back. And I was wondering if he was visiting parallel dimensions that were similar, or parallel universes that were similar to our own, not dimensions, or parallel timelines that would be similar to our own but not the same. And I think it would help you with future knowledge, but I don't think you would get everything right, which is why I also think he might have not been able to get the accurate information about when he was going to be president. I don't think it's possible that he didn't find out that he was going to be president. That totally might be the case. Maybe he's going to be president in the future, according to some people. He's on a timeline to be a president later in the future. Um, but I don't necessarily think either one of those two are lying. I don't have a reason to think they're lying. I just think they have correlating stories where they overlap in different spots. I don't think it looks like Andy and Michael have the same story at all. Like if you actually hear some of the stuff that Michael has and sit down and talk to Mr. McIntosh, he will tell you things that are way different than Andy's story. And Andy's just got a whole different testimony. They just have some spots that correlate, like with Mars and Obama and Andy and Michael. Like those are probably there's only a few key players that actually overlap in the story. But I mean, Andrew Basiago doesn't talk about Majestic 12. He doesn't talk about going back in time with aliens. There's a lot of things that Michael McIntosh talks about that Andy doesn't talk about at all.
Yeah, they're two different people, two different stories, two different timelines. I believe that every single time you time travel, you are altering the timeline because you're back in time. That's why it's so bad to do. It's not a good thing it's not a good thing to do. Going to the future is almost as bad because you know what's going to happen in the future now. So that timeline is going to start altering just by your thought, just by you knowing what's going to happen in the future. You have that power now to change it, accident or by accident. Point is, I'm a big fan of McIntosh. I think he's like, because of my experiences with remote viewing, I think he's very accurate. He may be a little far fetched with the Majestic 12 thing, but it's believable. Bashago, on the other hand, he's the one that introduced the jump room. He's the master of the jump room. Project Pegasus. I understand what Bashago's trying to do. He's
The jump room and Project Pegasus are two different ones. Project Pegasus was when they was a kid, and the jump room one was when they were at the College of Siskiyous, and that was when he was like older teen, I believe.
Right.
So one was like 8 years old, and one was closer to like 19.
But the idea that he tried to own the project, he's not calling it by the original name on purpose. He's calling it by a name he came up with, which is Project Pegasus. He's like, I wouldn't say he's lying, so to speak, but what I would say is he's owning something that really bothered him when he was a kid. So it's like Michael McIntosh is more like an accidental president. If he ever was to really run for president, we're talking like, stop this guy immediately. Then again, listen to what he has to say. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of those moments. And I think he would be a great president, but a lot of times his policies is so far-fetched, it's going to just piss people off so much. But they're going to piss people off in a way that people like, me, that's always been a hippie, at heart, is going to be like, it's about damn time. It's about time he tried it. I repeat, I'm supposed to be Bashago's rival in 2032. Allegedly, that timeline might not happen. He's going through a lot of stuff. It might be earlier. From what I understand, he tried to run before in 2016. It didn't work out. I wish him the best of luck. I hope he stays active, and I hope to see him during those years. If I don't, maybe it'll be further down the line. But I'm sure by 2032, he might not have it in him ever again. Like, he just won't care. Like, it's just,
yeah. I almost hope. I think technology, unless technology catches up to be able to help him, I don't know how he would be able to. And he even said personally, if he didn't find himself fit to run for president, he wouldn't. And he made a very public statement about that. He's like, I wouldn't do it if I felt like I wasn't capable, or if I feel like my vision would infringe on it, like anything like that. I think he would want to be at his best if he was going to be able to do it. So technology will probably have to help Andy out. But when it comes to Andy's story and how much he releases, I've started to notice this about a lot of things. He won't necessarily give out the real names of certain people because he's testing other people he's testing other people's validity to their story when they come to him and say, Andy, I did this project with you, and I knew so-and-so that you talked about and so-and-so that you talked about. And he'd be like, all right, well, what was their name? Because he'll say a name publicly, and that's actually not the person's name that was actually involved in it. That's why I'm really curious to hear this book when it comes out. He's already got it written, but it needs to be edited and gotten ready. But he's got like a 50-some chapter book that's getting ready to come out that actually is going to release some of the real information about like what he's been telling us about. Like, he's been telling us about the actual events and the stories, but the people in them might not be the people that we thought they were, especially on like a first name basis. It might have been somebody else if he was just saying, oh, so-and-so's name was Andy and so-and-so's name was Michael, they might have had different names.
Right.
And I didn't realize he was actually testing the public. Blue Eyed Diva, welcome back. And then Michael Moody said the most controversial thing McIntosh says is that he'll be out president in 2024. If he's our president in 2024, I will be ecstatic.
Well, remember, he has to get elected first, so he's not actually going to be the president. Technically, he's not going to be the president in 2024. He gets elected in 2024, but that's not set in stone. Obviously, that's still we still have a whole 2023 to get through and see where he's at, and that's where I come in.
I don't think he says that he will be president. I think he says that if the people need him to be president, he would be president. Yeah. And which is like you presented it pretty well when you said it, Eric. He actually, I don't think he wants to be president, to be honest. The more I talk to Michael about it, I don't think he wants to be president. I think he'll do it if he has to, and if he thinks it's what people want him to do. But I don't think he's going out of his way to try to be president. Which is like the most bizarre part about it to most people.
Yeah, I picked up on that immediately. I'm like, oh, okay. He doesn't really want to be president, but he should be. So I'm like, what do I do in this case? Just let the timeline play itself out, basically. Try not to mess with it.
It almost makes you wonder what chain of events has to happen for something like that to fall into order too. Like what's going to make the people look over and say, oh, we need this guy? Where does he have to be in his life, and where does the country have to be for him to be considered a worthy candidate, I guess?
Exactly. And allegedly it was supposed to be happening after World War III, allegedly. So right now we have...
Unless that was changed out of the timeline.
That's what was changed. So this guy emerges out of nowhere. So he can either still be president or he just got knocked out of the timeline. He doesn't know why. And he feels he's been knocked out of the timeline. That's why he's talking. That's why he's made himself public a little bit. So, like, I've never heard of the Young Astronauts Club until Apex TV. I feel like they were in the mid-90s. It wasn't very popular. They probably had a couple of mixtapes here and there. It wasn't really that great, but they stayed independent for a while. They probably, you could probably compare them to, what's that called? Sonic Youth or freaking that. Like, there's a couple of other indie bands that I know a lot of indie bands, but this guy was probably that guy.
And, oh yeah, I mean, and he grew up with in the punk scene, and he was big into punk music. And I've had full episodes where I told Michael we can't talk about anything but music. I just want to talk to you about music, and we've done 3-4 hours of just talking about music. That's the one where he had his Les Paul with him the whole time when we were doing the interview. I'm like, God damn, that's a fucking Les Paul. Like, it looks so nice too. He's got quite the equipment set. But yeah, he's always been a fan of music. His knowledge of music is probably just as sharp as his knowledge for politics.
It's presidential. I say it. I'll be that Kanye West form. I had practice with Trump. I could do this. His knowledge of music is actually very presidential. Like, he's got a vast knowledge of music. It's not even funny. It's vast. It's astronomical.
Michael said, recently Trump has said we need somebody who cares about this country to lead us. Anything can change at any point. The way it's looking like it's favoring McIntosh. And Michael loves making music. I like some of his music, not going to lie. Yeah, I like some of his stuff. I don't like all of it, but I mean, I don't think anybody likes everything from an artist. I think...
there's gonna be songs you like more, songs you don't like. A lot of his songs are like, some of them are just beats. He's like, I say it like that. If I was to describe his music, this is why I started becoming a believer. It's like if U2 and the 9 Inch Nails time traveled to make a super band, you would have a McIntosh. That's my opinion of his music. So if you like those two bands specifically, and you want to hear something better, just a little better, like an idea of like both of them connected. Oh yeah, Macintosh is your go-to. Like it's
I like his songs that give me that psychedelic vibe. I think like Lines in the Sky. It reminds me of like a psychedelic rock song, something that I can lay on my back and listen to, and then try to guess what it's about. Like I don't necessarily always like songs that have a direct message in them. I like the fact that some songs could be whatever you want it to be or
yeah,
whatever you can picture it as. You might not be understanding what the artist was writing when he wrote it, but you're still taking something from it.
yeah.
And yeah, I think Lions in the Sky is probably my favorite. And it's just because I can lay on my back and just wonder what the hell they were thinking about when they wrote it. And I'm like, ooh, this is I don't know what it is, but it just sticks in you a little bit.
I mean, I
Michael called it alien techno dub. Michael Moody
yeah,
said.
that's a good description. That's close. That's something I have in mind. Yeah, the alien music, right? He knows how to do that. Lines in the Sky is one of my favorites. Also, I agree. I know you know like I know he's talking about the chemtrails in the sky,
Yeah.
but he's also talking about a deeper meaning. It's not even like he's going line for line about what that's really doing to people, you know. And he's like a lot of his songs is like he like simulates doing all that stuff, but he never really does all that stuff. He's one of those artists. So like if you could do art like that, like you know, I would like to see him president. I don't care. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm a loyalist. You know, like that was one of those songs where it was like, this needs to be promoted, man. I will say this. I heard the iTunes version and I heard the YouTube version and I heard the SoundCloud version. The iTunes version sounds a little lower. I do music, so I know mixing, and I don't know why that is. I don't know what they was
Sound a
trying.
little lower in what? Like lower quality or like what
Yeah,
do you mean by lower?
I mean, it's good quality, but it's like low. You know when the volume is turned down a little too low for some reason,
Yeah.
and you no matter how high you turn it up, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those songs.
Got you.
Yeah. But I can hear the difference, and you can also hear the manipulation as far as you know when you put certain songs on certain platforms, whether it's going to translate better, and it doesn't have the same rah that I felt when I first heard it. When I first heard it, I was like playing that over and over again, fast, you know. But when iTunes, it just sounds a little weaker. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's the iTunes or whatever, but you know, got to look at stuff like that too. I look at technicalities of songs and stuff, and as a fellow artist, I know this guy eclipses me thoroughly. So I wouldn't dare say that I could, you know, play guitar or have a band, anything quite like the Young Astronauts Club. Period. But I know my music. I know my music just as well. Maybe not as well as he does, but I know it's just as well. And some of that stuff is like, you know, you just was looping a drum track for a little while and thought that was cool. You know, okay, so you just wanted to play a random riff. That's cool, you know, but does the song have substance? 90% of the time it does. You know, 90% of the time, even if you don't like it. And these songs are really, I tried not to like them. It's like,
I was gonna say the same thing that Michael Moody was just touching on, and I picked that up in music more than anything is the frequencies, like the beats per minute, like
yeah,
all of that is constructed to do something. Like there's a reason that you get so many beats per minute, or they put it at a certain frequency, is because they want you to. My rabbit is freaking out all of a sudden, trying to fight me. All right. But those frequencies making a difference, make a huge difference on your mood. Those lower vibrations aren't where you actually want to be, and it's the same with the beats per minute. A higher set of beats per minute on an even number actually makes you more energetic, makes you want to move, makes you want to dance. And I like when artists can pinpoint that and find a good volume or a good. Jesus Christ! Sorry,
yeah.
my rabbit is freaking out right now. Why are you freaking out? Come here. What are you doing? Stop. He's got a ceramic bowl in his room, and when he wants attention, he'll just start putting his head under it and like flipping it over, just like tossing it all over the goddamn room, and it sounds heavy as hell.
Funny.
But the frequencies make such a big difference on when you're listening to a song and what kind of mood it puts you in, and same with the beats per minute. And he does that in a lot of his songs, just like Moody's saying. Some of his songs have different frequencies in it, and they definitely do. And not a lot of people pick up on that. I don't know. I mean, you're into music. I bet you do, Eric.
Frequencies is a big part of my little investigations. Okay, we got that. The conspiracies about those is extensive too, and they're just conspiracies until we really can confirm that they're real. Okay, so there's frequencies. There are high frequencies, low frequencies. It's in your 5G. In music in particular, there are frequencies. Some are lighten your mood, some are darken your mood. And some people like the darker ones more than the lighter ones. Some people are able to blend both of them together. And some people are able to do them without you really noticing the difference in frequency. But you're always brought down by the song for some reason. Yet it sounds like a happy song. These things, they work on these kind of things a lot, and they're being figured out. Last time it was the subliminal messages. The other time it was the you have a cassette player and you put a whole song on this cassette player, then you record over that song, and for some reason they get the message of the other song in the song that you're playing. They had it with the backwards vinyl. They had it with the backwards vinyl. So there's different ways to manipulate music, and I'm aware of the majority of them. I put it that way. And I wouldn't say he's guilty of it, but I'm sure he's aware of it.
Oh yeah, I think it's intentional. I think it's like Easter eggs in a video game or a movie. I think it's intentional, and I just think a very developed artist that knows what they're doing is placing them there for whatever reason. You know what I mean? I just think that's more depth to the art. It's not a knock on anybody.
Right. I mean, if you know how to work your frequencies, work the frequencies. I know how to do that, but I've been noticing a trend of people's like speeding up tracks from like back in the days, and it sounds even better. It's I believe it's like speed time travel, basically. Like if you go a certain speed, you start changing time. So these people are really trying to work on this kind of things, and it changes the frequency, and all of a sudden it sounds like a different song. But we don't know what this is doing to people yet.
Do you think there's any significance to I don't know if you've seen this, but you can look at the majority of pop songs all throughout history, and you can play them with three chords. And like you could look this up on YouTube right now. They'll have a bunch of artists, and what they'll do is they'll go, "Oh, okay, I can play any artist's song with just three chords on a guitar." And you just name the song or the artist, and they'll just start playing it, and it's always the same three chords. I was like, I wonder why they do that with most pop songs. Like, why do they all fall on the same like three chord rule?
Not sure. Maybe they're just not getting creative.
Have you seen that? Like they were tracing it all the way back to the Beatles. Like from the Beatles up until like now, you can do the same thing with like a Jason Mendez song as you can a Paul McCartney song back in the day. But you wouldn't compare those two artists, like besides the music that's coming from them.
Yeah, well, that's always a coincidence. If people notice, they notice, and they've been playing the same three chords for every new song that comes out.
I always wonder. I was actually speculating this with Michael McIntosh. I'm like, you got to make a three chord song then. I was like, maybe you'll go number one in the like. I wouldn't make a song just because it would go number one. He's like, I'd make it because I want to make it. And I'm like, I can get you on that. It makes sense. No reason to force something you don't want to do, or just to do it for the clout. Like, there's no reason to just get the fame from it. If you're changing up everything you're about to do it.
I'm definitely not a three chord artist. That despite how bad I might actually be, I will say this though. People who are only using three chords, they're not, like I said, they're not creative, so they have to keep recycling the same type of stuff over and over again. Sampling started, and that's kind of how sampling is going to be finished eventually, because they're going to keep sampling the samples. So they sample the sample of a sample, and a sample of a sample of a sample. It keeps music going, but it's still it shuts down your creativity. You're not really making new music. You're recycling the old shit.
When I was always wondering if we got too copyright crazy in the future, could you ever even write songs again, or would you have to repeat the same lyrics at some point?
You'd have to
Like,
read the lyrics.
like, or you'd have to change up words. Like you wouldn't be saying the same words anymore, or something. Like, or you'd go more of a techno, or more of a instrumental type song. Because
No.
otherwise, I couldn't think of how you wouldn't repeat things eventually in the future if it just keeps getting copyrighted.
Yeah, it's going to be impossible to make new music, and that's one thing that I've been aware of ever since I started music. So time travel has always been like a thing for me when it comes to that, like being ahead of time. Like that's just been a thing for a while.
Michael Moody says, I also have had dreams of me flying, but would keep going up and it would get windy and windy. It was one of the best feelings I ever had in a dream.
The dream of flying. Still have not yet had a dream of flying. Have had dreams of falling. I had dreams of falling quite a few times. you know, I'm waiting for that flying dream. I can imagine flying. I believe that flight is possible, levitation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Really, really, you have to work at it. It's hard.
Yeah, I don't know what it would take. I don't think so. I'll 100% admit I don't think we fully tapped the functions of the brain or understanding our reality. And I mean, even so, say we go with the Matrix theory that we're living in the Matrix, that makes it even more possible that we could levitate and break the rules. Like, if you actually are living in a simulation, all you have to do is figure out how to get the code to work for you,
Right.
and then the rules don't apply because you can break the rules in any kind of a game or anything like that. Like you can break the rules as long as you know what the rules are and how to break them.
Exactly.
Like it's no longer a capability; it's just an understanding. It's weird. It's like the capability is always there if you're thinking about it on Matrix stance. The capability is always available to break the system, but will you ever figure out how to?
I mean, I always say that the universal rule of the universe is you can't. There's rules that you can't break. So it's like that the whatever you can't jump a certain height. You could try to break that if you want to, but you're probably not going to be able to break it. There's always that barrier that the universe sets on everybody and puts limits on you, and those are limits that are meant to be broken, but you still have to figure out how to break them. You might have to live with them, and those are your limits that the universe puts in front of you. So once you're able to break those rules, you own the universe. You finally figured it out. You could go farther. You can ascend, so to speak.
Yeah.
As a human being. And there's people that are just confined by whatever rules have been set in front of them. Maybe you was born without a leg. You know what I mean? It's like there's lots of stuff that happens that we have no control over, and those are the rules of the universe. But they're still able to be broken, and we just have to figure them out.
Since you brought ascension into it, what do you have any thoughts on like the afterlife or like what happens to us when we're done here on this
I'm
plane of existence or however that works?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm scared, man. I don't really know. I really don't know. I can play Christian all I want and say there's too many different variations of it. One minute you're sleeping, next minute you're not sleeping, next minute you're waiting for judgment, next minute everything happens in the twinkling of an eye, and next thing you know, you're in the afterlife being an angel helping out somebody else. Anything can happen. On a secular level, it's like you die. You're now you're back to the essence some of my conscious black brothers used to say. You're back to whatever. There's one theory of you're back to whatever created you, which could be nothing, or you go back to the dust, just like the Bible says. But that's it. But that's it. You don't have no afterlife. You know, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. You know, you're rotten. Your body decomposes, and it becomes one with the earth again. You know, you probably came from Earth. We don't know. We don't know how this really happened. You know, we have an idea. We have ideas, but at the end of the day, we haven't died yet. Only people who have came back from death can tell us, and it's usually a bright light, you know, and you either walk through it or you go the other route. And some people are walking towards the light, some people are not.
Yeah. Well, so when I came up with my like my speculation about what the afterlife would be, I don't necessarily have to pull religion out of it. I just think it comes down, and I think it's all based on what what I believe humans are capable of. And since I think humans are, just bad storytellers and kind of corrupt by nature, and uh, just all about, like the winner tells the story of wars and stuff like that. So we might not have the most accurate depiction of things in our biblical scriptures, but just like a cave drawing or anything else, I think they're the best interpretation of the people that put them down. Like they used to probably think that the sun was brought out by a chariot and two gods fighting in the sky, and like I mean we speculated on stuff for a while, but then we eventually learned a little bit about it. I think when it comes to the afterlife, I think Christianity can fully be true. I think there can be a heaven, and I think you have to reach a higher plane of existence to get there. And when I say that, I don't think heaven's above us, like you point up and heaven's up there and you point down and hell's down there. Like
Right.
I don't think about it like that. I think about it like there there there's ways that you can get to a higher plane of existence, but it has to do with growth. I actually believe in reincarnation and the fact that you'll be repeating this cycle on whatever form that you earn in your previous cycles, and eventually, as long as you follow a positive path, whatever it may be, you'll eventually reach that higher plane of existence. If you stay in the lower and in the negative, you could go even farther down in the spectrum. And I think those are the people that wake up one day and their new life is not something significant. Maybe they actually had a bad past life or something like that, and they have to do better in order to get out of that situation. Like you just slowly build up like building blocks. And it would be it would be a good motivation for people like to think that there is an afterlife, because otherwise, fuck it. Like why not live every moment to the fullest? Which is like I want people to have their best life and enjoy their life more than anything. But uh, if it's harming others, I would want them to think that it's not going to be in their best benefit for like future stuff. Like maybe if you do believe in any kind of afterlife, it might give you some kind of long term goal to be a better person, or to at least follow man law to a certain extent, whatever it may be.
I mean,
So I believe in reincarnation. I do believe in a higher plane of existence, but I think everybody kind of chooses their path and how long it takes them to get there, or if they ever get there.
I mean, but I have my theories about reincarnation. I would love to be reincarnated, but you got to remember, you're not going to remember anything. So you're pretty much starting from scratch with a whole nother, like the universe. Like you could be sent. I believe you could be sent to another universe. I could go. I could get even deeper, you know. And it's like I would love to be reincarnated, but I have to make sure that whatever I do in this life makes that reincarnation so much sweeter. You know, like that's what it's all about. Like what you do in life is probably gonna follow you. Either it's gonna follow you or it doesn't matter. And we're and mankind is always faced with that question.
But I think it is going to matter. I mean, I personally think it's going to matter. I'm very well might not. Of course, none of us know. But um, I just wish without because I think religion is too flawed to give people that message now because there's been so many troubling things in religion and stuff like that. So you kind of go, okay, well, is anybody getting it right? Like, who am I supposed to believe?
Yeah,
And yeah, I'm just hoping at some point that we at least get the idea that it's not a bad thing to be a good person. Like it's not gonna make your life any worse to not go around hurting other people. you know, like there's gotta be something that motivates you, whether it's religion, whether it's just goodwill towards others. Like I think you can have a good path without religion, but I think it ain't gonna hurt you to have religion. It can if it's used as a crutch, but I don't know. That's more my view on humans and the afterlife. I'm a little weird about it. I'm still trying to fathom it, of course, just like everybody else is.
me too. Me too. You know, I'd love to say I'd love to kill myself one day. Like that's one of the reasons I'm a little suicidal. I admit it. Is if I could just see what the hell is on the other side, that we would know. We would just know. You know, that would be that's it. Like if we have a heaven and a hell,
That's a
and
scary
do
thought, man.
whatever.
I hope you don't think about that too much. Just say you can't wait until you figure out what happens at the other end.
I'm just saying. I'm not gonna
You're not
do
in
it.
a hurry to get there, right?
I'm not in a hurry to get there.
All
But
right.
but as a Christian, you know, kind of feeds you that carrot. They dangle that carrot in your face, like, okay, well, there's a heaven, so how come I'm not there yet? I really have to live through all this bullshit, you know?
Well,
Like
even
I
the
got I
Christians
was
say
one of
that
those kids.
even the Christians say that that's a shortcut though, and they don't want you to take that shortcut to get there early
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
that would be considered bad too.
Yeah, somebody's lying. Somebody's lying. But I believe my own. You know, I believe what I believe. You know.
Yeah, that's all you can do. I mean,
Exactly.
we live our life experiences and try to establish some kind of idea of what we think's going on,
I try to
and
believe
hope we get
what
it
I can
right.
prove, but I also try to believe in what makes sense to me if I was doing it. You know, if I was designing this whole universe myself. So yeah, I try to think along those lines sometimes, and sometimes stuff makes sense out of the Bible, man.
Oh
Sometimes
yeah.
it really
No,
makes sense.
I think some of it really does, and some of it really doesn't. It just depends on how you look at it. I always say because I always study religion. Like I've liked studying all kinds of religions, and I think they're all beneficial in some way. I don't think they. I don't. Yeah, they might have their negatives, but I think they add positive in all ways. Even if it's just guidance in some way on how to be a better person. I think you could anybody can take something from religion, even if you go, I'm not religious. You probably are in some sense. You probably have some kind of good morals going on.
Listen, I know how to play it. I know how to play the atheist angle. You know, I can play it. You know, but I try not to like the stuff where it's like, you know, you see visions and shit like that. So it's like I can't deny that there's a God ever. But I could play atheist whenever I want to. You know, like maybe I was just drunk that day. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. But I will say this: it doesn't hurt to be a good person. You know what I mean? Like that karma. I believe karma is definitely one of the realest things I believe in is karma, and that means that whatever energy you put out, you get back, type of thing. So if you do something bad to one person, don't be surprised if it happens to you.
Oh
You
yeah,
not be surprised because that's what the universe saw, and that's what the universe is now dishing. This is what you like to do. So how do you like it?
and that's why I like to use the terms as much as possible as positive and negative because I think it's just balancing and correcting. Like it's the yin and yang of life. Like it's not. And
Right.
that's why I say like even going back to like the Michael Phillips story, I
Yeah.
think even if you just go back and change something, that balance would correct it back. Like
Yeah.
and it's only with maybe big staples in the world, but I think there's always that balance that kind of comes in and counters it. I think you can't think of things as good and evil. I think it kind of thinks to be the wrong way. If you're thinking of the world as naturally being in balance, um, like without evil, you wouldn't know what good was. and without good, you wouldn't know what evil was. If your life was just peaches and cream the whole time, you wouldn't know. Like if there wasn't bad things that have happened to you, if there wasn't a struggle you had to go through, if there wasn't ever a low point. Like, could you imagine just living everything like not worried about a damn thing in the world? Like, it'd be weird. Like, we don't worry about much as Americans nowadays. Could you imagine actually having to hunt for your food or being scared something's going to kill you at night? Or like the
Right.
security that we have as a species is so interesting now to compare to anything in history.
Right. I just want to jump on that yin and yang thing. Like without light, you can't see darkness. Without
Yeah.
darkness, you can't see the light. That's always been my theory with that. So it's like we have these things have to coexist, whether we like it or not. And it's like this is the way of the universe, and it's also the understandably the mercy of God, basically. So we have that opportunity to fuck up pretty much, and we just have to have that. We just have to make sure we own up to that opportunity to correct things.
This is where I was talking about with like incarnation and incarnation and ascension and comparing ascension to heaven. Um, I think God is interchangeable for um, something more intelligent than ourselves. I don't think it necessarily has to be heavenly. I
Right.
don't think it has to. I think it's very possible an alien species could have genetically modified humans to be what they are today.
Possible.
I think that's very possible, but we
Possible.
would still consider them gods. I mean, compared to us, like
Possible.
I think advanced intelligence is would look like magic to us, just like it did if we went back in time with a laptop or something and showed it to a caveman. It would look like magic,
Yeah.
like any of the technology we have today. A lighter, that shit would look like magic.
Right. Right. Something as simple as a lighter.
Right. Could you imagine going back and just being like, I have made fire?
Listen, that's in Greek mythology. There's Prometheus who gave mankind fire. Mankind wasn't supposed to have fire allegedly. So we're like, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes blessing is a curse, but it's also a blessing that we probably needed a long time ago that they didn't want that somebody didn't want us to have.
That's the perfect story for me because it's like, oh, okay, this guy went up to the gods, the higher beings, the smarter beings, the more intelligent beings, brought fire back down to the lower beings, and was like, okay, what kind of technology did he bring down that gave us that ability?
Exactly.
Hold on one second. Sorry about that.
Looks like an important call. She's really taking the call.
Sorry about that. It's about work tomorrow.
uh
I had to take it.
yeah.
Ugh.
Business, that makes sense.
Oh
I
yeah.
should, I should be getting off here soon. I'm looking at the 2 hour mark. Feel free to ask me like 2 more questions. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh yeah. Anytime, man. And we can always set it up again. I'll ask you more questions next time, man. If we got to wrap up, it's no biggie. I ain't trying to force you on here. I
Thank
appreciate you coming
you
on.
for the event because I'm always gonna have more for you next time,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh no, I like picking your brain about these things because it helps me speculate on how everybody else thinks about these things as well. Like I did the same thing with Michael. I do the same thing with like Andre. I like to know what they think about time travel, what they think about future events, and all that stuff, and like what it all means to us and how we should be interpreting it. And maybe I'm interpreting it wrong. Maybe I can hear something from somebody else that'll help me a little bit. But no, I really do appreciate you coming out. And you're always welcome.
No doubt, no doubt. Thank you so much. You're one of the coolest most. Like, it's good to be able to vet somebody like you, because like I sit and I drink a lot, and I sit and try not to think about all this shit that is going on in the world, and all these little thoughts of aliens and time travel and stuff. So it's good to be able to be like, all right, I got an update.
Well, I think there's nothing wrong with people talking about these things and not being labeled as crazy. Like the whole time we're not going, I 100% believe in this. They go, oh, I speculate about this. I think this is an interesting story. Like that's why I started my channel, is because I think people have interesting stories. I want to hear their perspectives on things. Even if I might not agree with it, it's still interesting to me. Like I can sit down and have a drink and a smoke with somebody and just shoot the shit and see what they're up to. Like that to me is fun. That's a good time to me.
That's fun. And I definitely had a lot of fun. I'm gonna be back, right? I'm gonna be back. I can.
Oh yeah, anytime, man. You're always welcome back.
Ask that shit.
But I'll talk to you soon, Eric. I hope you have a good rest of your evening, man.
Yes, sir. Have a good night. I'm gonna be sharing. Oh,
all right.
I would love to do little advertisements, but yeah, Eric Carthage.
Go ahead, man. Hey, and plug your page if you want. You can put the YouTube page in the private chat, and I'll share it before we get off too.
No doubt, that's a great idea. All right, Real Vision Radio, always on, never off. You can catch me there every once in a while. Do a little podcast on Facebook, but that's it. That's it. New music coming out. Eric Carthage. Yeah, the Quarter Brick Records. That's it. Yeah. Loyal Rebels. Pessimist. Ash Hawkins. All right, that's all. That's the only shout outs I got. I'm out.
Right. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in, and y'all have a good night. Thanks.
Have a good night.